Hope you've been enjoying this past series of Insights with PT. We just concluded another amazing set of episodes, and here to give you a recap is moi. In this series, PT breaks the myth that January is some magical reset button. It's just another month in a new chapter, and the perfect opportunity to slow down, refocus, and realign. It's time to get clear on your vision, reconnect with your why, and find a mentor who can help guide the journey. Most importantly, PT reminds us to not rush what God is still preparing. The Bible says He makes all things beautiful in His time, not ours. So don't confuse the wait with the no. It's all part of a preparation for something greater. Trust the process, stay planted, and let God's timing work its masterpiece. All right, so my first question is, as a pastor, what does rebooting one's life look like from a faith-based perspective?
It's not so different from what you do, normally in your day of life, every day of life. When you look at your life spiritually, you ask yourself, where am I supposed to be? Is this where I'm supposed to be as a believer? Because after a few years, you should have left some things behind. You understand? For some people, it might be, maybe you get angry a lot, easily. And you say, am I supposed to be like that now, at this level with my spiritual life? The way I study the Bible and the time that I spend, with the Lord, is it good enough? Can I improve on this? The same thing with time with prayer. Is it good enough? Can I improve on this? Because there is a standard for prayer, really, and Jesus showed us that standard in the Garden of Gethsemane, that can you not pray with me for 1 hour? So if what you have been doing was 30 minutes, it's time to reboot and put it up to maybe 45 minutes or to 1 hour, to step it up, So for spiritually, all you need to do is to look at how better you can improve on your relationship with God.
Now, I think moving into that, spiritual aspect and improving your relationship with God, are there any specific Bible verses that can help us to inspire a mindset of renewal and transformation?
There are many scriptures, that will help us, in improving on our spiritual walk with God, But the first one you start is in the mind, which is Romans 12:2. Be not be conformed to this world, but be transformed. You have to get to a point where you say where you are is not where you ought to be. So what do? You renew your mind in the way that you approach spiritual matters, because spiritual matters cannot be done in a fleshly way, and because God is spirit, and you have to understand that it takes spiritual ways of doing things to align with God. When you look at prayer, and Jesus told us that, pray without ceasing. That prayer goes beyond just crossover service. Prayer goes beyond just, we have a prayer meeting today. Our lives should reflect prayer every day. Pray without ceasing, which is praying without stopping. Whether you are driving or you are at the bus station or you are at the train station, you can pray under your breath. You can pray when you exclaim. You can pray when you do things. Pray without ceasing. These are ways that you can encourage yourself to be able to move on from where you used to be to where you ought to be. Because everybody, Paul says something very clearly. He said that when I was a child, I spoke like a child, I talked like a child, and I did things like a child. He said, but when I became a man, it's the same way with spiritual things. There were things that we did in the days that we were not that spiritual, that we were just babies. You understand? When we look back now at where we used to be and where we ought to be, you find out that we need to leave the baby things behind and move on to things that are more matured in the spirit, as Christians.
is there anything in particular that we could do possibly besides prayer? That way we can move on in the spirit?
Well, it's resolving in your heart to do things according to God's way of doing things. The questions people should ask themselves every time is that, how will God want me to approach this matter? How will they have approached this matter? We are all human and flesh. So there are times we face challenges or issues in life that we want to deal with it with our own fleshly way of dealing with it, But if we allow our flesh to dictate to us, then you just realize that you cannot move in the spirit. So we have to get to a point where we put the flesh down and we constantly say to our flesh, enough, I have power over you. I will do all things according to the spirit. So how will God expect me to handle this? And once you identify the way you believe God wants you to identify, try and do it that way. And you'll find out that it's much easier than you thought it was going to be.
True. All right, now moving into a topic that I know a lot of us can relate to, talking about forgiveness. How can we embrace forgiveness when it's so tough to forget hurts and let go of past failures as we start this new year?
It's a challenge. It's a challenge to everybody. The disciples came to Jesus and they started speaking about this, or the Pharisees rather came to Jesus once, and they said, how many times should we forgive those and Jesus was talking about 70 times 70 and all that in a day. And they said, who can do this? This is a tough one to ask. And the reason why Jesus said that is that he didn't want us to be bogged down, by offenses or by unforgiveness. Because the challenge with unforgiveness is that it keeps you in the same spot. The people who have hurt you, they have moved on. Some of them might not even know that they did that to you. You understand? Or what they did impacted you that much. While you are still reliving the old story, you are still crying, you are still hurting over it, and people have moved on. So it's in our own interest that Jesus wanted us to forgive people, not so much of the people that offended us. Because if we forgive them, we are able to move on. People say this, that if I forgive, I cannot forget. True, it's difficult to forgive and forget at the same time. It's only God that can forgive and forget at the same time. You understand? So even if you remember, the question you're going to ask yourself is that, is this remembrance stirring up the unforgiveness again in me? Is it bringing up the hurt in me? Is it bringing up the pain in me? Is it bringing up the need at times for me to want to revenge or to do something, to that person? If that is what the remembrance is bringing, then you ought to really pray that God should help you to forget. You understand? But if you remember just for the sake of it, for you to say, maybe you put yourself in a position where they were able to do something like that to you, then when you remember, you say, I'm not going to put myself in this situation again, so that I can do that to protect myself. Well, for the person that did what they did, it's okay. I've forgiven them. I've moved on.
Spiritual habits that stick beyond January. Everyone seems to be, so close and so tight with God at the start of the year, but then gradually that habit, kind of goes a little bit lower. So how do we, keep it during the course of the year and even the years to come as well, too?
The key word is being true to yourself. That's the key word. One of the reasons why people start something and they are not able to finish is that maybe they beat more than they can chew. Do you understand? If you have not been praying for 2 hours and you've been praying for 30 minutes, why do you want to start praying for 2 hours in January? You're going to burn out. By February, you're tired. So why don't you just say, I'm going to try and, be praying for 45 minutes. You're already used to 30 minutes. So another extra 15 minutes is not going to be that weighty as well, on you. And then you can improve as the year goes down the line. And before the end of the year, maybe you get to that 200. And that's it. For some people, it's because we compare ourselves with each other. Just because your friend is praying for 2 hours You think you can pray for 2 hours. But if that's your gift, it's okay. You understand? Celebrate your gift, express yourself in that gift and all that. I can aspire to be like you, but I'm not going to aspire to be it overnight. You understand? So that I don't burn out. So what do I do? Consistent gift and all that. I'm not going to aspire to burn out. So consistent, true to yourself. The little that you want to add, be consistent with it. Be consistent with it. Be consistent with it. After a while, it gets into your habit, because it is what we do daily that we eventually become. Do you understand? It gets into your habit, and from there, you move on, with it. If not, you're going to get tired. A good way, even if you don't look at it spiritually, it's somebody trying to lose weight. Do you understand? I've had to lose weight last year, and I lost a lot of weight. But I knew the weight that I lost, where I was, by the time I stopped trying, is not sustainable, So I had to look for a balance, an average weight that I want to be, that is not going to affect my health and is going to be okay for me. Do you understand? And I know that it is sustainable. I can continue it without any problem. So when I got that number, I felt comfortable. Now I'm within that number and I'm okay. And people don't see me and say, oh my goodness, you've lost so much weight again, because where I am is like, okay, it's lost a little bit, but it's not so dramatic and things like that. In life, you might do some things like that, even spiritually. Do you understand? It's like an intervention. Do you understand? So you do it, but you ask yourself, is it sustainable? If it's not sustainable, then you now find an average standard that you know is sustainable and you keep on at that level. And if you choose to increase it, then you can increase it.
Mm-hmm. Now, even moving on to, that topic of balance, right? Is there anything like balancing one's spiritual, personal, and professional goals? If there is, how do you find this balance?
A lot of people ask these questions. And I'm going to tell you, when it comes to your spiritual life, I don't know the balance I'm going to put there. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. There's no balance there. Yeah. Either on Monday, on Tuesday, to Sunday, I'm still a Christian. Do you understand? That one is standard in your life. I'm a man now. There's no balance in that. You are a man, period. Do you understand? So what you now try to balance is, okay, your job or some of the things that you do. And in my job, you get to a point that you say to yourself, what do I need to do to bring things in, income in, and to sustain myself and my family? Do you understand? That's why there's vacation time for everybody. That's why every one of us, we have 24 hours in a day, everybody. You choose what is important to you and you allocate your time of the day according to that. Everybody. But some people will allocate so much time for video games and then they are not looking for balance. And the balance they are not looking for is that I'm going to cut out on my prayer life. I'm going to cut out on the time I take to read the scriptures. I'm going to cut time on the time that I serve God. Those for me are non-negotiable. They are priority. Do you understand? So I know the time I'm going to cut out. It might be my television time or my watching a movie time. And those ones, they're negotiable. On a very lighter note. Yesterday, the Ravens played. I love the Ravens. I want to watch the match. It started at 6:30. Prayer was going to start at 7. I watched from 6:30 to 7. By the time it was 7 and prayer started, my TV was on. I put it off. You must be able to determine your priority, because I know that if I put my TV on and I say I'm praying online, I'm just deceiving myself. because I'm not going to concentrate on the prayer. I'm going to be watching the TV, and you cannot serve two masters at the same time. So you have to make up your mind which one you want to do. So the balance there, I say to people, is that choose your priority and follow that priority. And then every other thing you can allocate time for, based on how important they are in your life.
As always, it's your girl Tammy signing off with this recap. And again, don't forget to send your questions, your concerns, your topics, anything you want to discuss right here on Insights with PT to the following email address: insightswithpt@JesusHouseBaltimore.org. Can't wait to see you all soon. Take care and God bless. Peace.